First Coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by Weather Rate, sponsored by AC Designs.
Welcome in, folks, and good afternoon. I have this is really a special day for me. This is the very first time that Chief Meteorologist Lewis Turner and I are getting to share the streaming room together. First time
so much fun
getting
with
to
you,
work
Ross.
together in here. So I'm excited about it.
I'm pumped. I'm absolutely just chuffed. And chuffed is a term that I think I understand is a positive term. I want to say it's like British. Chuffed. I'm chuffed. I'm in a great mood to spend a little time with you and talk storms and talk about the week as a whole because, gracious day, are we going to be active?
And we're pretty much the stormiest spot in the nation here right now, Lou. This is infrared satellite imagery showing you, but let's take a look down much closer. We've had this big wave of storms making their way from west to east. We anticipated this. We expected and forecasted Southeast Georgia to be the stormiest location here throughout this afternoon. Perhaps, Lou, maybe moving through a little bit quicker than what we had expected earlier today.
I think what we need to key in on here, a lot of times we're forecasting, let's watch after 2, let's watch after 4. But I think the prudent thing that anyone who's been around here for a good piece of time is, once you start noticing and you can kind of feel just that the heat of the day, it's getting to be the hot, you're breaking a sweat if you're out doing a little work. The cap can come off and we can get some popping. So, today a lot of computer modeling focused in on Southeast Georgia, certainly, but even down in St. Johns County, where I call home, we were watching some pretty heavy rain come in. Nothing at the severe level, right? But certainly, the cap came off. So for all of us, we're all going to have these chances of showers and thunderstorms for the week. And Ross put it well. It's just these waves, and that is such a precise term because that's exactly what's happening in our upper atmosphere. It's these upper atmospheric waves, quite literally, that think about the atmosphere as just one gigantic fluid, right? And get in the bathtub and run your hand through the bathtub and see where those waves go, and try predicting precisely where each of those things are going to be bouncing off different things. You've got your rubber ducky in the tub. How's that going to react? So this is exactly
not the rubber ducky.
No, watch out for rubber ducky. But you had a good graphic up. You were showing Folkestone. So getting down to kind of the nitty gritty of what's already happened today and what is possible with these thunderstorms each kind of afternoon as we go. These gusty winds. That's kind of your main, Ross. You're kind of your main sort of severe impact when we're talking about this, and we saw some damage in Folkestone there in Charleston County.
Yeah, so multiple reports there, down trees, down power lines in the Folkestone area, and evidently reports of some fires actually having started from some of those down power lines. Coming up at 5 o'clock in the news later on air, we're going to talk about some of the max wind gusts from some of these storms, but overall, all of the storm gusts that have at least been reported in so far have been sub-severe. So we're talking anywhere from about 40 to 55 mile per hour wind gusts. So obviously can still do some damage, especially in a location like Southeast Georgia that has already seen some rain the past couple of days. Ground's pretty saturated, so a nice strong wind gust can certainly knock over some of those either older or weaker trees that have started to rot out a little bit, or those that are just kind of in that saturated ground that the roots aren't locked into place as firmly. Can knock some of those trees over and take out some of those power lines. But most of this, Lou's, finally starting to move offshore. Brunswick has been seeing the worst of it here now for about the last 15 to 20 minutes, but quickly starting to move to the east and really just some training thunder showers behind it here for the next 30 to 60 minutes or so, maybe.
And what you mentioned with Folkestone, with the power lines down, just a nice time to remind everybody to stay the heck away from those things when they fall.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously starting fires, obviously live, so avoid those at all costs. And then now down towards, as we're live casting, really, St. Simon's and Jekyll, just kind of your focal point of all this lightning right now. So as Ross mentioned, let's give it 30 to 45 good minutes. Even after this line moves offshore there in St. Simon's, if you're trying to get out, get to dinner, or any sort of outdoor plans there, how along Frederica Road, that's one of those places that's super susceptible. If you get a quarter inch of rain there as we go to our live cam, right there getting ready to move into Brunswick, coming off the Sidney Lanier, right by the Marsh side, one of my favorite haunts, by the way, if you ever get to the Marshside Grill. I love it when you're in Brunswick. It's right on the marsh. But this is
First Coast foodie, Lewis Turner. Who knew?
Good food, good drink, baby. And you come off the bridge and you find it. But looking over the marshes of Glen there, if you were coming over the causeway, so you're getting close to the causeway of St. Simon's, that's where we have the tendency to see some of that just ponding and flooding, and it just becomes annoying. And so now looking through the Northeast Florida side of things, a few outflows that we're seeing there on our radar coming out of some of those thunderstorms might spark a few things, but really one thing I take away from this picture is I'm just not seeing a lot of lightning. I do see it in that kind of northern real quadrant, far northern extreme St. Johns County, so right there moving over Durban. You're getting a popper right, but what I want to emphasize here is especially what we're seeing in St. Simons and here in Durban, when that lightning, just because that storm has passed you by, good potential, and sometimes the strongest, and most damaging and dangerous lightning is on the back end of these storms.
Yeah.
So let's keep that in mind as you're still hearing the rumbles of thunder and you're trying to get out through the evening.
So for most of us around Jacksonville, besides those few isolated things, especially on the south sides, most of the rest of this tonight should be pretty quiet.
Yep.
We'll see some skies begin to clear on out. It's still going to be very, very muggy. The last couple nights, last night we only got down to 77. The night before, only down to 78. So we're really not getting a break from the heat during the overnight period. And perhaps a few degrees cooler here this evening, down into the mid 70s, 74, 75, but still pretty warm by mid-June standards. It's just a nice look at some of those thunderstorms, or really just clouds kind of rolling through. So there's a live look south sides of downtown in the Jacksonville area, seeing some of those thunder showers. So as I mentioned, Lou, sometimes I don't remember what order these are in.
That's cool.
Clearly, I'm a little haphazard with going back and forth between the radar.
To do a 20-minute stream, you got to have like 45 graphics in the hopper. But I will say, Ponte Vedra Beach down to St. Augustine Beach, this is prime. Take your significant other out for a little walk. You want it after dinner, and so we're going to give it, as Ross was saying, about another 45 minutes to an hour or so. So we'll track live at 5. We'll continue to see and track some of these showers. Still seeing a few pop up behind there towards Green Cove. Ross had mentioned, we're one of the stormiest places in our nation right now. Taking out the severe side of things, gosh, some parts of our nation's midsection just getting absolutely pummeled, and us gracefully we're kind of in that afternoon pop-up thunder. Certainly could get some damaging winds. I mean, remember, a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust it has the potential to do some damage. So not quite to where you're getting on television and tell you, hey, we got a severe thunderstorm warning. We're not going to be cutting into your favorite sports game and/or soap opera necessarily with that.
Speaking of that, last night they had severe storms in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
That was game 2 of the NBA Finals. And the affiliates out there had to, ABC specifically, because the game's on, our channel. The ABC affiliate out there had to decide, what are they going to do?
What was the decision? What'd they do?
I think they cut in quickly, and then they ran a crawl and went to their streaming site. So,
oh dear,
certainly could have the exact same situation here, but thankfully we have not.
The forecaster's conundrum, right? The meteorologist's conundrum. What do you do? And really, I mean, it's always about safety first.
Yeah.
You have to kind of look. I mean, is this cell that it's severe? Now, if it's a tornado warning, that's a whole different ball game. I mean, just kind of giving you a peek behind our curtain. I mean, if there's a tornado warning, you're going on TV. You kind of have to. But luckily, Jacksonville's NBA team is not. It's not playing.
You don't have to worry about that.
I did see, just anecdotally, I was watching some social media, and a poor station in Fort Wayne, Indiana, just got roasted because it was game 1. And of course, what's his name? Halliburton.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Tyrese Halliburton. Thank you. Makes his game-winning shot. That last minute of that game was insane. So this affiliate in Fort Wayne went on TV, and it wasn't even a weather situation. They just were teasing their next broadcast.
Oh, okay, yes.
And I don't know if you saw it, but they came on in the middle of that. Now they did not go over the game-winning shot, but they did go over the last from a minute to about.
It caused some momentary panic for folks who were watching.
Oh gosh, the trials and tribulations you deal with at local news.
Yeah,
one of those things. We're not going to deal with that tonight.
No.
So all of our impacts are basically essentially over with right now. Of course, unless you're under one of those thunderstorms in southeast Georgia. But during the 5 and the 5:30 and the 6, our normal broadcast hours is when we'll be talking about the worst of the weather and the worst of it really moving offshore. So high temperatures, we're going with 93 tomorrow, and you mix that in with the humidity that we've been feeling, it's still going to feel like those triple digits, 105, 108 up there. So be prepared. Find your shady spot before those storms hit. Take plenty of breaks. Hydrate early and often. And you know what? An SPF 30 is a fine idea. The rain.
Now, I don't know if you have seen this yet, so I made this. You can dispute it, or we can debate it if you would like. Okay.
100%. This is 100%. This is a very similar graphic to what we were showing this morning on Good Morning Jacksonville for today's storm chances, which verified. I mean, we saw the worst of the weather, obviously with Folkestone having fires caused by wind damage. I mean, this graphic tells a good story, and it tells the story of the nature of these storms, which is not everybody's going to get it every single day. The chances of you seeing it, and depending on where you live, matters. And so Southeast Georgia, as we're looking at modeling, that better chance of getting the worst weather. Now, just kind of with the science of all this, what we've had over the last several days is a persistent west wind. And what that's been doing is pinning that sea breeze up. So for us, we think about that sea breeze impacting the 95 corridor and then kind of shoving some storms back towards the Gulf and towards some of our western neighborhoods and communities. We haven't had that, and so the trend I've been noticing is closer to Tuesday and really into Wednesday that sea breeze returns, so it might pop even a few more Florida adjacent. But with those westerlies, especially at the upper levels and middle levels of the atmosphere, you get a lot of warmer air in the middle layers. So what that does is kind of cap the potential for severe. And so in Florida, that's why we're thinking Georgia has the better chance of kind of the cap coming off.
And you've noticed that if you've looked at the storms, they've been pretty shallow the last couple of days in Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, now in Georgia, you're right, a little bit, stronger updrafts. But
correct.
Yeah, mostly in Florida, fairly shallow thunderstorms here.
Lower levels, and and a shallower storm is a weaker. I mean, when you get storm tops at 30, 40,000 feet, that's when you're talking about some serious thunderstorms, and they have been shallower. Now, I think that may begin to change with a little convergence as we get towards Wednesday. If we get a Gulf and an Atlantic sea breeze meeting, we could hit some stuff up. So what we got? So tell me your forecasting as we look towards deeper into the period. We're getting to Thursday and Friday. So what do you think?
Well, that westerly flow is going to break down. We're going to have a nice big high kind of sweep on in from the east. So a little bit more of a southeasterly flow. So really what I'm kind of anticipating is especially by Thursday and into Friday, we might actually see some of those coastal thunderstorms a little bit earlier in the period.
Yeah.
Sea breeze moves in perhaps 1:30, 2 p.m., and then generally pushes further inland through the afternoon. Now, I think the one thing we'll have to watch, the upper level flow is weak, but it's for the most part still out of the southwest a little bit. So perhaps after dinner time or closer to sunset, any lingering convection that has moved inland might slowly drift back east. Sure. But obviously there's a lot to kind of, you got to go through steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 before you even worry about that. But yeah, I mean, I think the heat, humidity, storm's going to be a constant thing here through the rest of this week. Heat indices, you touched on it, Lou, talking about, trying to find the shade, staying hydrated. Heat index anywhere from 100 to 105 degrees through the rest of this week and into this coming weekend. So locally, we're pretty much setting up into a very summertime tropical-like pattern here. And speaking of the tropics, we do have some activity down there kind of spurning out of the intertropical convergence zone in the Central America gyre here, Lou. So 2 separate storms that the Eastern Pacific and the National Hurricane Center are watching. There is the first.
Babs.
Yeah, first hurricane in the northern hemisphere this year, right?
Yeah, Barbara. And what's going to happen? I did get somebody asking, I think it's a great question. And it was, can storms that form in the Pacific side cross the Mexican isthmus, so to speak, and get into the Caribbean and impact the Atlantic hurricane season? It's exceedingly rare. All right, it's steering currents generally are taking things from east to west on this side of the map, and with this kind of trend, notice how it weakens really quick as it gets up towards Baja. So we're talking cooler water. Generally, the Pacific. If you ever dipped your toe in, it's not the most
a little
conducive.
chilly.
A little chillier, 100%. And so while storms neither one of these, Barbara and what's the other one, Cosme?
Yeah, I got it right here for you.
There you go. Forecast to become a hurricane soon. If it hadn't, it obviously hadn't been yet. So that latest update would become our second hurricane in the northern hemisphere, and of course fizzle out. But to the question of crossing over, it takes some very specific atmospheric conditions, and then think about like the terrain of Mexico there. I mean, you can see it on your topographical map there on the land side. I mean, it's so mountainous and so many plateaus and mountains, and it's just not likely. So kind of go at ease.
Well, and also some drier air once you start to move up a little north.
For sure, and it just wrings it out like a sponge as it tries to travel up and over. So let's put that out of our mind. If you're keenly into social media and you follow, say, like the Times Union, there was a tweet earlier that the Hurricane Center is tracking waves, tropical waves, and that is a term that we use. And a wave is essentially just kind of an elongated, disorganized group of a group of thunderstorms forming what Ross had mentioned, the Intertropical Convergence Zone. It's an area there, equatorial. We're kind of north meets south, and you get these, and it's typical and it's normal. So if you hear of waves being tracked, just kind of come to this map and come to us. And with that National Hurricane Center, they're the best in the world at this. But just know that over the next 7 days, I like to take the hurricane season 1 7-day bite at a time, is that nothing is moving into any sort of favorable area. And with these waves, they're in the part of the world right now that it isn't exactly the best incubation area for hurricanes. So we typically are watching Caribbean and Gulf, and right now, while we have that CAG going, nothing really seems to be popping over the next 7 days. We'll watch in the long-range forecast and certainly have our eyes on that. And really, even in the long range, even some of those more aggressive models are kind of dialing back on things in like the hour 300. So, yeah, Ross prepared our 7-day, and we'll kind of wrap on that. As you can see, look at that. 60% of us will see showers each and every day, save for Monday. We were kind of backing off a little bit there in the 7th day. We got buddy check 12-day. Throw on your pink on Thursday for sure. Call your buddy, let him know. Do a self-exam. And when we put these 60% up there, notice it's right below, again, another peek inside the curtain, our weather impact alert days. We issue those at 70%. When 70% of us, a good majority of us, the super majority, will see some showers or thunderstorms, we will pop that red. And we may have to at some point as we continue to fine-tune, especially as we get to the weekend. We get hypersensitive to weekends because we're all planning for it all the time. So just keep in mind, not everybody every day. More of that after 2. We'll watch that very carefully. And as we go through each day, we're going to do our very best precisely to show you the kind of parts of town when and where we'll see those.
Honestly, I'm still just thinking about, you were talking to the tropical waves. I looked over at your hair. I'm like, man, your hair's a little wavy too.
Wave.
And now that my mind's stuck there, and
it's the tropical wave. It's the humidity outside. I got to go see Miss Tanya, my lady, tomorrow. To take care of this tropical wave, because that's precisely what I'm dealing with right now. It is out of control.
Love it. Love it. All righty. Well, we still got some storms out there this evening. Lou will have an update on those coming up at 5 o'clock on air. But for now, for myself, I'm meteorologist Ross Mumall. He's Chief Meteorologist Lewis Turner. Thanks for watching as always. Take care, folks.
You're clear.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great stuff.